Hello and welcome to Choose to Challenge on E360 TV. I am Luana Bradford. Did you know that 80% of individuals working today, and this is kind of a global statistic, are dreaming about escaping? Yes, escaping, that mass exodus, doing their own thing, living their dreams, making their impact, building their legacy. But more often than not, they don't. They stay stuck, detached, disengaged, stressed, frustrated, looking at that clock, just waiting to go home. Does this sound like you? Well, if so, you want to tune into this because we are going to be talking to the amazing Dr. Monique Toussaint about how you can ignite your passion, define your purpose, and live a monumental life. We'll be back in just a moment.
Why be average when you can be monumental? Hi, I am Dr. Monique Toussaint, coach, consultant, change agent, and corporate MC. At Monumental, we position our clients for success by creating strategic plans that leverage resources, identify opportunities to create value, and evaluate progress. If you have an idea, we have a plan. So let's think monumental together. Visit monumentalbusiness.com and let's get started today.
Hello, Dr. Monique Toussaint. How's it going?
Hi, good morning. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for saying yes. I know your schedule's busy, and we really appreciate you coming to the stage because today we're going to be talking about how to think monumental, rising beyond barriers into purpose. Now, I want to ask you a question before we dig deep. You had just a simple quote. It's a call to action. It's pretty powerful. It's provocative. It leaves you scratching your head. You said, think monumental. What does that really mean?
Right. So I am located physically into DC. And if you're familiar with the area, we have the national monuments on the mall. And no other building in DC is allowed to be taller than it. So when I think about being monumental, I think about being the best, achieving your highest heights. So I do acronyms and I'll dive into that later, but think monumental is really pushing you to think beyond what you think you can have and aspiring to what you can have and more. And so that's my quote for everything. I dare you to think monumental, be outside the box, be above average, be more than you can be, and just be you, think monumental.
I love that. And may I call you Dr. Monique?
Sure.
So, Dr. Monique, what you said is it's very inspiring. But what do you say to that person who's like, okay, I hear you, but you just don't realize all the pressures that I'm facing. I'm just trying to make it day to day. I don't have time to dream anymore. In fact, I had a dream and everyone's telling me it's impossible. So I'm just going to stick with what's comfortable.
Listen, comfort is the adversary of growth. So when I think about think monumental, I want you to think about taking inventory of what matters, right? Having that moment where you're like, you know what is right now is not working for me. Identifying your resources and your needs, negotiating with yourself, deciding what you're willing to give up for what you really want. And then you got to make a decision and keep moving forward. So when you think monumental, that's what I think about. Pushing people to do.
You just said something that I just wrote down here, negotiating with yourself, right? Yeah. Having those deep conversations, that back and forth, and then really drawing that line in the sand and saying, okay, first of all, I'm not going to accept this. Mm-hmm. This is what I want. And then being able to feel a sense of empowerment to walk in it.
Right. And so the challenge with self-negotiation, and even for myself, the word that I've given myself is boundaries and balance, right? When it comes to negotiating with yourself, you have to think about what do I want and what do I need to get there? And you have to give up something, right? Time costs. No day, you have lots of time, a little time, but you make a decision every day about how you spend every waking minute. And so you have to decide, of this time that I have in this day, this is what I'm going to do. And some of that has to be for yourself. Like, you have to draw the line. Hey, I know I'm a mom or a dad or a business owner or an employee, but of these things, when I wake up this morning, this is what I want to do for me today. And when I go to bed, this is what I want to check off of my to-do list, saying I have done for myself today. And so you have to draw those boundaries, but you have to have the balance, right? Some days it will be all about you. Some days it'll be not about you. But as long as you can wake up feeling fulfilled and go to bed feeling like you have not robbed yourself of an opportunity to be happy, then I think you should be okay.
You said a mouthful there, and I'm going to do it in reverse order. You said to wake up every day feeling that you've not robbed yourself of an opportunity. And I think it was Les Brown. One of the things that he has said is the saddest thing is when you look at a cemetery, and those are all the dreams unfulfilled, right? The songs never written, the books never written, the vacations never taken, the families who you didn't spend time with. And we don't want that to happen, right? We want to live our lives intentionally, purposefully, but we haven't been conditioned to do that. I mean, it sounds a little insane when you think about it. We're talking about living your best life, living full life, but we haven't been taught to do that. How do you with your clients help them navigate that?
I think the perfect balance, because there is no perfect life, no perfect day, no perfect wish. But I think the perfect balance is ensuring that you do some things that you have to do and some things that you want to do. And if you can find the time to make that work for yourself, I think you'll feel more fulfilled.
I like that. And it's a process, right? It doesn't just happen overnight. So I want to just, if we can, take a moment just to unpackage you, Dr. Monique. What, have you always been this way? Did you always know your purpose, wedded to it, walking in it? Or was it a bit of a journey and kind of this discovery process for you?
Yeah. So I like to tell people or ask people, what is your monumental moment, right? And thinking about when did you get that? They call it aha moments, but I like monumental, so I'll go with that. When did it click for you? And for me, my journey is still going. And so I've been thinking about this for some time. Like, I've had people tell me I'm good at this and I've thought about it, but it hasn't been something that I'm like, I'm going to be a career coach. I'm going to be an executive coach. I'm going to be a strategist. It was like, I went to school and I was going to be industrial engineer, and I was great at it, but I hated it. And so I've been in a continual struggle about, you can do many things, but what makes you happy? And so I have been positioned in different places divinely and just strategically, unbeknownst to me, to tap into my different skill sets. And I've been empowered by leaders that I've had, by peers that I've had, and they've said, you know what? For example, even my first business, I was doing a lot of this for free. And one of my friends was like, I'm going to pay you in the name of your business. And I had to literally start my business the day before to get my check, because she refused to. And we were writing checks about a decade ago, right? Not anymore. She refused to pay me in my name. And so I think the perfect balance of that is not just making it a decision for yourself, but surrounding yourself with people that will hold you accountable to the dreams you say that you have, so that you can walk in purpose. And I call them purpose partners. Like, who do you need to be connected to that will push you into pursuing your purpose? Kicking and screaming and all.
No, I like that. Purpose partners. We on a business lane, we call them strategic partnerships, but that's a little different, right? Because it may be helping me meet a particular business objective, a financial goal, or performance metric. But when you're saying purpose partners, this is helping you to become, right? Assisting you on your road of becoming.
Yes.
And you said you were talking about with you and your life journey, trying to decide, what did you want to do? And you were calling out different titles. Now, are the titles that we may hold, the labels we place on ourselves, that's not being. That's a bucket that we or someone else puts us in. And being in a bucket doesn't necessarily make you happy. Can you unpackage that for us?
Yeah, I think that we are consumed with the concept of what success looks like, right? So we are conditioned to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, a wife, a husband, a mother, a father, right? And when we think about professionally, because we're going to speak about that, like we think about those top tier titles as the end all be all, the if I don't make this, then I'm not accomplishing. But you can be a very successful and unhappy executive, right? And so I could have been a wealthy engineer having this conversation from my yacht, down by the Cayman Islands or something, but would I have been happy? And I think so many of us live our lives trying to project what the world has told us happiness and success is versus deciding to ourselves, what is our measure of success? What makes me happy? For me, is it that I think that every encounter with me should leave an impact on someone, even if it's like, I like your hair, or you're in the elevator, like, hey, I love your shoes. Like something about your personality, your presence, your being should make somebody feel better. And sometimes it's just having a conversation, being a situational mentor, saying, hey, I've listened to you and this is what I think you should do. And so because I naturally do that, whether it's in text, in person, in meetings, in the elevator, whatever you do to lift people's spirit that makes you happy. So if you're a hairstylist, listen, people become a new person, a happy person, just feeling better because you've done their hair. So figuring out what your purpose is, what makes you happy, and more often than not, thinking about what you're called to do help somebody else. I think if we measure success by that way, I think we'll be less consumed by the pressure of performing in a position that's not conducive to our happiness or our purpose.
Yeah, what you said was very, very powerful. So pursuing what makes you happy, and it's not just a feeling, but it can be a state of being, being placing those boundaries to make sure that that's not compromised in any way. I did an interview a couple of days ago with a leadership coach who was a global executive in the R&D industry, and his name is Monsongo Mokwa. Mm-hmm. And he said that he was living the life of Riley, traveling the world, doing his thing in corporate, had the lifestyle that people would dream about, but just what you said, he wasn't happy, he wasn't fulfilled. And he said he had to break free of the golden shackles.
Yes.
And he said he had to free fall. And he said he did it. He made a decision. Yes. And one night spoke to his wife. He said, I'm leaving my job. And he said, and I jumped without a parachute. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it was just because he physically, emotionally, it was starting to impact him. And it's like our lives, we only have this one life and this one body and this one mind for this point in time. And we have to protect it and we have to take care of it. And when you're living a happy life, one that's fulfilling, walking in your purpose, I think, and I like your thoughts, I think that it improves your mental, your emotional, and your physical well-being.
Yeah, I think they've talked about how important mental health is and how it impacts your physical being. And just listening to your story literally goes back to the think strategy, right? He took inventory of what happened. He had his monumental moment. He identified all the things. He negotiated with himself, like, I'm gonna do this because this is what I want to do. And he just kept going. And so I think if we can take a minute to do that. Now, all of us may or may not be able to afford it immediately, but if you're working to that end goal, because we have to be holistic about who we are and how we show up in pursuit of happiness, right? If I want to tag the name of the movie, but you have to build a plan to get there. So we may not have, an expensive taste or things to acquire. Some of us might just be making it day to day, but that doesn't mean we can't make a plan. So I am working this job because I want to get here. So this will fund my dreams. And until my dreams fund themselves, I will continue to work with the knowledge that I am doing this because I have to in order to be able to do what I want to. And I think that helps people to kind of see the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
The light at the end of the tunnel. So
yes. We're going to take a quick commercial break and a shout out to our sponsor, Unity and Service, and their upcoming conference, Entrepreneurs Living the Dream.
Join us for Entrepreneurs Living the Dream 2025 conference on October 18th at the DoubleTree Hotel in Atlanta, 8:30 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hosted by Dr. Patricia Rogers, CEO of Unity and Service and the Dynamic Visibility Team. Vendors, panelists, and speakers, this event is your opportunity to elevate your brand. Secure your seat at speakersconference2025.eventbrite.com. See you at the conference.
So here we are talking about living the dream, right? And living the dream is living your dream, living on purpose. I want to get your take on this. I was doing some research, and this actually shocked me that the numbers were so disparate. So McKinsey did a survey, and they were surveying the level of purpose-filled executives compared to purpose-filled frontline workers. And so they asked them, how fulfilled are you in your role, in your day-to-day? Do you dream of being elsewhere? 85% of executives said, yes, I am fulfilled. I am living my purpose. Life is good. 15% of frontline workers identified being fulfilled. So you've got 85, those that are at the top. Yes, I love it. But 15%, where the engine lies, are very dissatisfied, despondent, and disengaged. We call it quiet quitting. Mm-hmm. So I want to turn this over to you and help us to unpackage what's currently happening in the world and how can we, if we choose to stay in corporate, or even if we're in the entrepreneurial space, mm-hmm. become more invested and engaged in our day-to-day.
Wow. So there are quite a few things there. So when I think about where we are today and executives versus engine room, right? And so I think that more often than not, we think that we have to put a plan in place to be an executive. But what I've come to find is when you do what you love, and they say this in the religious world, your gift will make room for you. So if you do something you love, you're more willing to put more into it. You give it your all, you perform better, and people see that. And so you want to make sure that when you're doing those things, you're connected to the right people so that so you're visible, one, and then you're engaged, two, and then you network with the people doing the work. And so leaders will see the people that go above and beyond, and you're more likely to do above and beyond when you're excited about the work that you're doing. And if you're excited about the work that you're doing, you're going to hopefully be promoted and to grow and to blossom because you love what you do. And when you love what you do, you eat, read, sleep, you think about it, you have ideas outside of work. So you come into the workplace engaged, you're excited to be there, you have ideas, you want to push the business and the thoughts and the processes better because you've been thinking about, how do I do this? How do I do that better? So when you think about executives being more satisfied, I think is because they have to spend more time with the work or making decisions about the work, and they have more autonomy. And so they're like, you know what? I love this. Let's do this differently. Let me figure out how to engage my folks. Those that are doing the engineer work at the bottom, sometimes it's just a job for them. There's no passion. There's no purpose. It's just a paycheck. And so, but there's also that middle tier in the gap, right? Some of them might want to, but they don't know how. And part of that is one, getting a coach to help you figure out how you connect the barriers. And then 2, companies figuring out how to engage employees meaningfully, where they feel like their thoughts and their values and their opinions matter, where they feel like they matter. And so if you don't feel that, breathe that, see that, then it's hard for you to want to do something in a place where you don't feel appreciated. So I think it's a 2-tiered problem. One, where the executives know the work, love the work, are doing the work, and they have to figure out how to engage employees to want to do the same, as well as employees. If that's not where you want to be and grow, then leave and go somewhere else where you still have to get that paycheck, but because you're working in purpose, you're more likely to do it and do it better.
I want to ask you this question, and I'm going to take it from a different lens.
Okay.
So you have your executives, as you said, they know the work, they're doing the work, they're happy about the work. But executives are often the ones that are shaping it. They're the ones guiding policy. They are directing, they are delegating, they are more in a seat of control. Think about the orchestra conductor, right? And then you're here as part of the orchestra, and you've been given an instrument to play. But you've been given the tuba, but maybe you're actually a flautist. But they're forcing you to play the tuba because they need someone to play the tuba. Even though your resume speaks loudly to where your strength is. But because of the world that we're in and how tight the job market is,
right?
I don't know how long this will last.
Yes.
And the added responsibilities that you have to have, right? I got to keep a roof over my head and take care of my children, the basics. You feel stuck, right? You're telling them, hello, this is my skill set.
Yes.
I get it. But, we really need you to play the tuba. And that happens more often than not. What would you say, number one, to that leader who's directing everything and maximizing the gifts and talents of their team? And number 2, to that person who feels like they're being force-fed to do something that they'd have no desire to do, and it's really not their passion and their gifting.
So you have to find, again, boundaries and balance. And so for me, I was fortunate enough to find different opportunities at work to do as collateral duty while I was doing the things that I had to do. Remember, balance is finding the balance between what you have to do and what you want to do. And if you cannot find it at work, then I strongly encourage folks to think about, how do I find it outside of work? So I'm West Indian by trade. And so I play steel pan, right? That's my non-negotiable. No matter what happens, I have to leave on time to make it to steel pan rehearsal because that brings me joy. So if you cannot, and realistically, this job market is really, really tough. And you have to work because we have to eat, we have to breathe, we have to feed our children, our families, all of the things, pay our bills, keep our roofs over our head. But the reality is, if you have to work and you are unable to shape your work, you're able to connect to a mentor that will help you to identify a career path that's more conducive to your purpose, then find little pieces of joy outside of work, right? Because we focus so much on who we are and how we show up on work. And rightfully so, because that's where we spend most of our time. But more often than not, we have to find something to balance that. So you have to think about, okay, I like this, I will do this. Or I just need 20 minutes in the car before I go into the house to figure out, or before I go into the office, like figuring out what is the key to keeping yourself happy, keeping yourself balanced, to finding your own peace. Because the 2 things that I am not negotiating with myself about is my peace and my purpose. So figure out what gives you peace at work, whether that's outside of work, after work, before work, and just doing it. Making a commitment to give yourself a peaceful moment every day, I think will take you through a lot of the hard ones.
It sounds simple, right? It's like have your boundaries, focus on your peace, focus on your purpose. But it's challenging because of all the conditioning and the social constructs that are around us, and just the realities of the economy, right? That we have to deal with. And sometimes We may not be satisfied, but we have to tolerate unpleasant conditions until that moment may occur. I was reading something yesterday, and it was actually something my dad had written about his father. And, there's a song by Loretta Lynn called I'm a Coal Miner's Daughter. Well, I'm a coal miner's granddaughter.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I was reading that here's this man in the 30s, in the height of the Depression, in rural America, who had to feed his family. His passion was, I want to make sure my family is safe during these very depressing times.
Mm-hmm.
But he took a job that was the ultimate compromise, which ultimately cost him his life. And that was coal mining. And when you think about it, and I'm painting this picture deliberately because I'd like you to kind of unpackage the analogy. He had to go into the dark space to fulfill his dream of creating legacy for his family, sustainability for his family. Mm-hmm. He was willing to risk his happy state, if you will, mm-hmm. by doing this day in and day out. Mm-hmm. And when you think about going into the coal mine and the blast and everything that creates a very hazardous working condition, he did that every day until he was consumed by black lung, leaving my dad an orphan at the age of 10. Mm-hmm. And I hear, and I'm reading a lot about, we have, just looking at the African American women, 350,000 plus have lost their jobs in 3 months.
Yes.
Because of all the shifts and changes. We look at government employees. And it's 200 plus 100,000 and growing. Mm-hmm. I think the goal, the actual target number is 2 million. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I use the coal mining example to say people are now finding themselves in that very dark tunnel. And they're having to do whatever it takes to survive. And you as a coach, as a guide, are sitting in this place of purpose, happiness, and strategy. How can you help people that even though I may have to be in a dark place for a season, how can I still have boundaries? How can I still create balance so that I ultimately can go from the darkness to the light? Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. First of all, thank you for being transparent and sharing that with us, about your grandfather and his commitment to his family. And sorry that, he was consumed by that. For me, I too was impacted by the change in circumstances. And that is what made me commit to myself that no matter what's happening, I have to do this for me, because more often than not, when we want to do things and we want to do things well, our work-life balance is not where it's supposed to be. And so because I had to abruptly cease and desist, for lack of better words, everything, I literally did not know how to not wake up, roll over, and get on my work phone. Like I literally eat, breathe, sleep, work, because I was passionate about my job. I loved my job. I was doing my job, and then there was none. And so I had to say, okay, let's recalibrate, right? What do you want to do now? What can you do now to balance these circumstances while you navigate these unfamiliar and unexpected trenches that you're in? And so for me, making a decision, right? Having a negotiation with myself, making a decision that no matter what is happening, I am going to get to steel pan rehearsal. It doesn't matter where I am, what I'm doing, what's going on. Unless there's a dire need for me to not be there, then that's where I will be, because this hour and a half, twice a week is what gives me joy. This is the only circumstance for sure I can control right now. And so I'm going to take this moment to be happy, I saw this shirt. I'm thinking about buying this as I've never not been happy while playing steel pan. And so while I cannot control the job market, I cannot control what decisions are made about my office. I cannot control that. I can control where I spend my time. And again, every day has to be a balance of what you have to do, because you have to work, and what you want to do. And if it's not every single day, then it's going to be 2 times a day, 2 times a week, 3 times a week, but there has to be a perfect balance during what they call the perfect storm. So it might feel dark, but even in the tunnels, there are lights. Even if you don't get to the end of the tunnel, sometimes there are lights along the way. And if you could just make it to the next light until the next time and you walk a little bit further, it's kind of like a marathon, right? Or any kind of race, because most of us won't ever run one, but some of us have done 5Ks. It's literally one step at a time, 1 mile at a time. And so you just have to push. You have to keep moving. You cannot get consumed. And yes, you can stop, take a water break. One time I took a picture, a selfie in the middle of a 5K. Like, it's pretty behind me. I took in the time to get the scenery. Like, oh, my end time will be okay, because I just need to get through this race. And so sometimes my grandmother used to say, 1 day at a time. That's all we can do, is literally take life 1 day at a time.
Yes. I love that. We'll be back to unpackage those brilliant words you just shared with us. One moment. Perfect timing, right?
Yes, that was perfect.
Well, I love that you shared your story, that sometimes when we listen to coaches, to guides, to you call them purpose partners, such as yourself, that we listen and we're like, okay, you've arrived. Life's good for you. But when we share our stories of becoming, of overcoming, of surviving, it creates relatability. And like you said, I've been there. I was told to cease and desist. Now what? And but in that moment, in that fear, in that uncertainty, there was something in you that said, okay, I can sit here and be consumed by this, or I can do something. And that first something you did was so small, but so powerful. You found that one thing that brought you joy, and you held on to it. And I think whatever we focus on, and we've heard this before, expands, right? If I focus on what's not right, or I'm always looking at myself as the victim, it's really hard to focus on the joy, right? Yeah. It's either I'm a victim or I'm a victor. So where do I want to put my focus?
Right.
And can you walk us through how, if you were talking to someone today or just in your coaching session, they're in that moment where there is no job, or there's job uncertainty.
Yeah.
How do they find the joy? How do they latch on to that to help them to survive the storm? Like you said, it's a perfect storm. Now what?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to think through. Like, I love acronyms. I'm trying to make one up in my head as we're talking, right? When we think about finding the joy, I want you to focus on what's important, right? Identify the things that make you smile. And it could be something like, I love music. I just want to be in that space for an hour and a half. I want you to not pretend like everything's okay, acknowledge it, but also move. You can't control it, but you can control how it controls you. And so, yes, there are going to be bad days. No days are going to be perfect. I am not always a bright light of sunshine and cloudy. Some days I'm an introvert. Some days I'm like, everybody leave me alone, nobody gets hurt. But then you have to decide that you get to decide how you feel and what you do. Your circumstances don't. And so even in the midst of the coal mine or the tunnels or the dark, cloudy days, or the days of whether, I think a lot of people now are dealing with depression and anxiety, whatever that looks like for you, you get to decide how long you stay there. Like, the thought can appear, like, think of those moving rainy storms where the clouds come, they rain, and they move on. Don't let the clouds stay over your head and just pour. And sometimes it feels like that, right? You lost your job, so now you might lose your car or your home or your family. But know that at the end of the day, as long as you don't lose your mind, right? Everything else can be recovered. And if it's a different family, which might be unfortunate, which might be a blessing, you don't know. But think about how you find those moments, decide that they cannot consume you, and just look for your rainbow in the midst of all of these storms, because it's a lot and there might be a lot more coming, but you cannot let it consume you. And you have to decide that you control how it controls you.
Yeah, I like what you said. It's like you said, first find out what makes you smile.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may be, the consummate pessimist, nothing, but there's there's something that makes you smile, something. And like you said, find that,
Mm-hmm.
however great or small it is. Maybe it's a memory, right? So spend time reflecting on that. And then this was a huge thing that you said is acknowledge, and I think when we acknowledge, we can accept. It is what it is.
Yes.
But then in that acknowledgement, you added another piece that I think places us in a seat of empowerment. By acknowledging it, I know this has happened outside of my control.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do anything about this. It is.
Mm-hmm.
But I can control how I choose to respond to the situation.
Yes.
That's a choice, right? That goes to the decision. And once we're able to do that, I think, and I want to toss this to you, Dr. Monique, I think that's where the clarity of mind comes in, right? Because now it's like, all right, it is. What am I going to do?
Right.
Now, how can I find that little joy spot? Because if I stay in my little joy spot, I'm going to get away from all the ash and trash that's going on in my headspace. And I may get little tiny moments of downloads that could help me take one little step. Sometimes we are so focused on, I've got a friend, which was just horrible. He had been in underwriting for years in the banking industry. On his work anniversary, I think it was his 20-year anniversary, just 2 weeks ago. He was so excited. We were going to go out and celebrate the milestone. And he called me and he sounded really down. I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "I just lost my job." He said, call me in the office. He said, "Happy anniversary. By the way, we are downsizing." And he's now he's in the tunnel. He just cannot find the moments of joy. He's unable to even get to the point where he can decide because his mind's so cluttered. Right. So I'm going to toss that over to you.
Yeah, I think, this is so funny because I am dealing with someone like that. And for me, it's a frustrating process, but I'm determined that I will not be defeated in helping them to overcome it. But I think also we have to acknowledge that some people will be who they are and they want to be stuck, right? Because they feel like, what was me? This is my time. It happened to me. I can't do anything about it. And in the coaching realm, a coach, we think about sports, right? A coach will draw up the playbook, but the player has to go on the field and execute the play. And until that player feels confident enough to kick the ball, make the shot or whatever, there isn't much you can do for them. Like when you think about Steph Curry, like when he started off, I'm pretty sure he wasn't making shots across half court, right? And so he had to practice, he had to push, he had to make a decision that he wanted to take the shot. There was nothing anyone around him he could be probably, I don't know, we could incite or aggravate them. But when it comes to people that are stuck, sometimes you're in the dark fumbling around and you might stick your hand here and get shocked or get your hand stepped on. But I think something inside of you has to motivate you to want to do something else. So what I've made a decision to do when I have people that are not optimistic, not hopeful, I try to encourage them. I try to acknowledge their pain. I try to say, you know what, that's really unfortunate, but I try to not give them an audience to continually complain or to grieve. Like, this is grief. Losing a job is grief. It is ongoing process just like if you lost a person, right? For me, even like different seasons, different events make me miss things that used to happen. And so I have to acknowledge today's not a good day. I feel bad. This is my trauma, but I'm not going to live in it. And if I love you and I'm coaching you as a coach versus loving you as a family member, I'm not going to push you beyond where you are, because you have to make the decision to get up and walk by yourself, right? Unless I push you, if I'm physically pushing you in a wheelchair, but you have to make a decision, and we have to respect people's decision and their timeline for how they want to function in their funk. But not enable them. There's a difference between empathy and enabling them. Like, I refuse to sit here and listen to you talk about this for 30 days. Like, talk about it for a couple of days. I'll give you some advice. You can take it. And if you want to sit there, but I won't be in the audience for you to do that. Here's your plan. When you feel ready and you want to take off, here I am. But I think some people just want to sit there. Some people don't know how to get out. And the challenge is finding who wants it and who doesn't, because it's a voluntary thing.
Yeah, I like that when you gave that example, and I was thinking, my mind went to the musical Hamilton, where one of the songs is, "I'm not going to throw away my shot." Like you said, as a coach, I can give you the playbook. I can give you some case studies. I can give you my lived experiences, but I can't walk for you, right? And some people, as you said, they like being in that state, and they like staying in there. And unfortunately, it begins to become this endless cycle when they find like-minded individuals who are in that same cesspool of woe is me. And it's just, it's sorrow impacting sorrow, impacting sorrow. And it's this compounding effect where now you're like, okay, see, I told you it's not going to work. But you didn't change your circle. You didn't try to change your framework. And like you said, there's times you're going to go back and you want to crawl in bed and pull the covers over your head and pretend that it didn't happen. But then eventually you're going to have to come back out.
Yes. Yeah.
And I really like what you're sharing from just your perspective as a coach, because you're going to see opportunities that when someone's in the dark space, they can't see. All they see is and feel is the pain and this feeling of lack. But you're able to see the possibilities. There is a book entitled Acres of Diamonds, where the gentleman, he went away. He went away to go find his wealth, because he felt that there was no opportunity around him. Right. Sold his property, and then later finds out that his property was sitting on a diamond mine. Again, acres of diamonds. So how often are we sitting on the diamond opportunities in our lives? But because it's overcast, we're unable to see the sparkle. So we think it's not there.
Wow.
Dr. Monique, I'm turning it to you. Give us your wisdom.
Oh my goodness. I was like, I wrote that down. Like, I need to go read that book. But what it immediately made me think of, and it has been viral on social media for, I guess, a couple of years. There's this cartoon of this guy that was digging for diamonds, the surface, and he was literally right there, right about to hit the diamonds, when he walks away with his shovel and leaves it all behind. You have been working towards whatever it is, and I feel like it's like quitting right at you can see the finish line, and listen, my first and only half marathon, the last half a mile is the hardest. Like, you've done 12 and a half, and you're like, this is stupid. Why am I outside? It's so hot. Why am I doing this? By mile 9, you're over it, but you're like, I don't want to quit. I've made up my mind. I'm going to finish. And then you get to the finish line. Mine was in Virginia Beach on the board, right? You can see the finish line. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to do this. It's too hot. My feet are swollen. I'm thirsty. I just don't want to. I don't care. And literally my running coach she came and she was like, Monique, I need you to run in the final. You're going to want a great photo finish. And I was like, I don't care. I'm just not going to buy the photo. And you literally see her push me over the finish line, and I stomp on it and I turn around and I look at her and then I walk. But then I feel so great getting my medal. Like physically I'm exhausted, but there's a mental high that you get from accomplishing a goal that you set. Now, it wasn't my best time, it wasn't my planned time, but it was a finish. And even right unto the final last half a mile, I'm talking about a couple minutes left after being outside for hours. I'm like, I don't want to do this. It's too hot. My feet hurt. And just even out of rebellion, stomping on it and turning and looking at her. But then, oh, there's my medal. There's such a beautiful feeling, a sense of almost, I want to say, endorphins that you get from accomplishing something that you set your mind to. Like I have people that have physically like to write to-do lists and scratch them off, and they feel accomplished by doing that. So if on your to-do list, today I will not complain, check. Today, or today I will, I will have a positive thought. Today I will call my mother. Whatever the item is for you that will give you that moment of joy. For me, is music. Today I will pretend I'm on the subway and put my music in so I can control my environment within the confines of what's happening. And that's where we are. We're on this train ride led by whoever. And right now we can't control the train or the conductor, but we can control how we enjoy the ride. And so it's your music, it's your playlist. Sometimes it's soca, sometimes it's gospel, whatever it is in that moment to push you through to get to the next is what you focus on. Like find your diamonds. How do you want to sparkle in the darkness? And don't give up, because literally we always give up right when we're there. So don't give up. Yes. You deserve what you want. You deserve to be happy. You deserve it. So if you would do for somebody else, do it for yourself.
There's a story, and hopefully I don't butcher it, but it was these two gentlemen. They were in a care facility, and there was, I guess, a curtain between them. So they're in their shared room. And the one who was closest to the door was very disgruntled and bitter the whole time that he was there. And the other gentleman always woke up with joy, and he was describing what he could see outside the window. He would describe seeing the children play below in the park, seeing the birds fly by, the leaves, turning colors. He was just always painting this picture of what he could see. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, the person on the other side of the curtain was really angry. It's like, oh, he gets the window. I'm here. And unfortunately, the gentleman who was in the other bed by the window passed away. And when they told him he had passed, he said, I'm sorry to hear that he did pass. He said, but before bringing someone else in the room, I want to be where he was sitting, because I want to have a window. And the nurse looked at him and she said, you what? He said, I want a window because it's miserable over here. And she's like, are you sure you want to move? And he said, yes. So she pulls back the curtain, and what was outside the window was a brick wall.
Wow.
So the other patient was living in his imagined state, right? Mm-hmm. He was creating his experience. Even though his eyes saw a brick wall, emotionally, mentally, physically, he was tapping into the joy factor.
Yes. No, I mean, that takes me to the quote, perception is reality. You get to create the world that you experience.
Yes.
You may not be able to create the world you live in, but you create how you experience the world. And that's what matters. Now, I'm not saying to be delusional, but I'm saying to be intentional. Like today, I am going to embrace that I'm going to be in traffic for an hour, but I'm going to identify which playlist. There's this song, this artist I wanted to listen to. I'm going to listen to all their new songs during my commute. So it's going to be something new. It's going to engage my mind. And before I know it, I'm going to be at the building, right? So nothing changed, right? I'm still in the car. I'm still in traffic. I'm still like, oh my goodness, please move over. But I'm experiencing it differently, and I'm not frustrated because my mind is consumed with the thoughts of, oh, I like the language. Oh, I like what he's saying here. Oh, maybe not this song, next one, but I'm consumed by something else. But I'm still on that journey doing what I have to do. So one day I can do what I want to do. And so I think if we can just focus on what we can control, find those moments to create joy, then I think that we'll be in a better place until we're in a better place, right? Because it all starts in the mind. It starts with the thought. So if you can think it, you can have it. And until you can have it, keep thinking it and think while you're at it.
Yep. Until you have it, keep thinking it. I love that. And I heard someone else say the statement, that this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm.
And if it hasn't passed, it means it's, your opportunity isn't over. So it's like, just focus on the possibility of the opportunity. Yeah. And I cannot believe, Dr. Monique, we are almost out of time. So I'm excited. We've been here with Dr. Monique Toussaint, and we have been talking about breaking those barriers, living a life that is full of purpose and intentional, one that's committed, where you're able to negotiate with yourself, decide, find those things that make you smile, acknowledging what's around you, but then embracing that which you can control. So, Dr. Monique, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to play your commercial spot once again, and once it's down, then you can share with the audience any tips, tools, solutions, and number one, how can they work with you? We'll be back in a moment.
Why be average when you can be monumental? Hi, I am Dr. Monique Toussaint, coach, consultant, change agent, and corporate MC. At Monumental, we position our clients for success by creating strategic plans that leverage resources, identify opportunities to create value, and evaluate progress. If you have an idea, we have a plan. So let's think monumental together. Visit monumentalbusiness.com and let's get started today.
Wow. So today has been an incredible opportunity for us to talk about what it means to think monumental. Now, I love using acronyms. And so for the word think, I came up with one to share with you to walk away from today's conversation. So when you think, I want you to take inventory of what matters. You know what matters to you. Make a decision that you want to pursue that. You want to have that moment. I like to call them monumental moments. The world calls them aha moments. But until it hits you, you won't know that, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Or you know what? I think I really love doing this. When you have that moment, then you can identify your resources and your needs. What do you need? What are you connected to? And what do you have? Think about your skill sets. If it's a goal or a profession or a business that you want to start, think about your network, who can help you with what you are saying that you have, and think about your accountability, right? We say we want these things, but we're not always able to accomplish them on our own. And so there's value in identifying people that you trust and respect to give you an accountability so that you can have what you say you want, and then negotiate with yourself. Decide that you are willing to give up whatever it is to get what you want. Within reason, right? We have to make sure that we take care of the things we have to take care of so that we can have the things we want to take care of. And then we have to make sure that we keep moving forward. Life is going to be a continual challenge. Ironically, today we're choosing to challenge, right? Challenge the circumstances, challenge your thinking, challenge what's affecting you, and make a decision to maximize that moment. So why do I say that? Because I call all of this, when you're thinking about it, you're having your monumental moment. And what I do, I am a monumental moment maximizer. And so I utilize tips and tools and techniques, and I motivate leaders to maximize pivotal moments in their career journey and achieve success. When you think about Monumental Business Solutions, we talk about strategy, solutions, but most importantly, we do it for your success. And so, a certified career coach by trade, I connect ideas to actions, and I provide an environment for clients to live. Again, another acronym. Those are my favorite things. So when you live, you want to leverage your current skills. You want to identify your opportunities to grow. You want to create value in your relationships, and you want to evaluate progress so that you can continually evolve as you move forward through life. And as you walk away from this, I want you to always remember to think monumental. If you have an idea, I have a plan. And by working with Monumental Business Solutions, we offer strategy sessions, which allow you to think about what you're walking through. We talk about potential goals and timelines and factors, and you get your action plan when you're finished. We have coaching, both individual and group coaching. So we have our business owner success squad, as well as our lead her success squad, because there's value in women growing amongst themselves, as well as just your one-on-one coaching. And so we're here to help you to be a consultant. I love speaking and delivering workshops, and I've taken on being a corporate MC. I've done it once a month at work, and now I want to do it in my business. And so I want to create not just an experience for you as an individual, but an experience for you as a company. So if you have an idea, we have a plan, and we're excited to serve you. We're excited to help you accomplish your goals, and we're excited most importantly, to help you think monumental. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to shaping your journey as we grow together and as we find ways to help you accomplish your plans.
This has been amazing, Dr. Monique. We've been here with Dr. Monique Toussaint, talking about how to think monumental, rising beyond barriers and into purpose. And ladies and gentlemen, she laid it out there. She told you who she works with, what the end result is. But just like any coach who has the blueprint, who has the plan, who has the success strategies in place, you have to invest and be committed to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're leading the team. She's calling the plays. So when you understand your role and understanding, and I love that acronym LIVE. Can you tell us once again what LIVE stands for?
Absolutely. So when you live, you want to leverage the skills that you have. You want to identify opportunities to grow. You want to create value in your relationships, and you want to evaluate progress to continually evolve.
Well, that right there is a mic drop moment. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to live? Choice is yours. All you have to do is decide. Contact information is below for Dr. Monique Toussaint. You can follow her on all things social media. Her Linktree link is below, so you can see all the wonderful things that she's doing, or you can email her at solutions@monumentalbusiness.com. And as she challenges us, think monumental. Yes?
Yes. Don't forget, think monumental.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Monique. And to our listening audience, thank you for joining us again for another edition of Choose to Challenge. We look forward to seeing you next week. And just remember, in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Be safe, be well. Bye for now.